News on 11. I'm Christine Buck, your host, and I'm here for April Simpson. All right, the calendar has flipped. It's 2014. It's time to start your New Year's resolutions. Do you want to lose weight? Are you going to lose weight? We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and sometimes the ugly. The ball has dropped and the parties have stopped. A new year, a new me. It's the phrase tons of people are using heading into every new year, and it starts with making resolutions. At the top of a lot of lists, losing weight and getting in shape. It's a goal weight loss coach Charles D'Angelo knows all too well.
At 17, I weighed 360 pounds. I felt miserable and no self-esteem. Getting out of a chair was a challenge for me. I knew I had to take action. I was able to totally transform my life, losing 160 pounds and inspiring thousands of others to do the same in their own world.
Too often, we fall short of our goals. However, Charles is here to explain what it really takes to keep those New Year's resolutions. Okay, and here you are.
Welcome back,
yes,
the team. You. Yeah, I know you too. For those that don't know, Christine is a former client.
Yes.
Lost about, what, 40 pounds?
150 pounds, no. No, I lost about 35 pounds, and it'll be 5 years, I guess, this year.
So you know the struggle with setting New Year's resolutions quite well.
Are you kidding me? I live the struggle, and as many of us do, and you, of course, know more than most.
I've been there. I mean, I came from a family of morbid obesity where all of my father's family members struggle with diabetes, hypertension, abnormal cholesterol levels. My father passed away at 54 of a massive heart attack. My grandparents passed away from diabetes. And myself, as a teenager, I weighed 360 pounds. My waist was a size 50. I really was looking outside of myself for the answer rather than looking within, wherein the answer lie. It was changing my mindset and really adopting a practical philosophy and attitude about food and exercise that totally changed the trajectory of my life. And having lost 160 pounds in just 2 years, I committed my life then to helping other people, and you came along a few years after.
Yeah, you know, that's sort of your mantra, isn't it? Your mindset.
It's all about the mindset.
That's what you always seem to go back to. And when it comes to trying to help people, inspire people, inform people, educate people, it's kind of a calling for you, isn't it?
I feel it's my vocation, actually. I really believe that God has called me to help people this way, and I've had extraordinary success at a very young age. And I look at this whole equation of success with weight loss as a three-legged stool. One leg, of course, we can't neglect to say is healthy eating, right? You've got to have a strategic action plan with what you're putting in your mouth every day. So many people, they think their mistake is that they set too high of aspirations. I think it's the opposite. I think that they set too low and they hit it on the head. So you really want to raise your standard, and by being strategic with your foods, that's one leg of the stool. The other leg that most all programs have is exercise. And that was your issue when you came to see me. You told me that, Charles, I've always got one leg in place or the other, right? Exercise.
I'm doing one or the other, never together.
Never putting them together. And even when you put those two together, still, if you have a stool with two legs, it's still going to topple over without the third leg. And that's what my program brings to it, is the right mindset, really reconditioning your relationship with food and exercise so that you become totally strategic, so that what you're putting in your mouth serves a purpose and it's something to function. It's not for fun. It's not that you can't enjoy your foods, but you can't let your pastime kill you. And all too often people slip into this philosophy of, well, this won't make a difference. But it's the small choices you're making every day that add up, that day after day, week after week, month after month, have a huge consequence on your habits.
Well, when it comes to your program, you're a big advocate about eating the same thing every day.
I would say this.
Keep it very simple.
I would say, number one, simplicity is critical. Having been 360 pounds, there's a lot of ambiguity or confusion, mysticism around weight loss. There's always a new pill or a new drug or a new plan. And the reality is this, that you have to be real with yourself. The only thing that's really directing your future are your choices, not a pill, not a drink, not some type of new magical DVD. If those were the answers, we wouldn't see the problem we see in Walmart. We wouldn't see the problem we see out in the airports or in the streets. People wouldn't be struggling with obesity. So people wouldn't be setting all these New Year's resolutions time and time again.
And it's such a head game for the person. It's something between you and yourself that you're constantly struggling with.
Absolutely.
And you make it really complicated, and if you overthink it, and if it gets really complicated, you may be quick to abandon it if you've never been successful with past experience of trying to lose weight.
People kind of time travel, exactly what you're saying. They rationalize bad choices. They tell themselves this, you know what, Charles, and I have heard this before in my office, no names, I've heard that, oh, well, I'm doing better than I used to. Or, you know what, I didn't do so well today, but I'll be better tomorrow. And what that does is it avoids the present moment. So rationalization, getting into that dialogue of telling yourself you're going to be better than you used to, or you are better than you used to, but you're still not doing well, or I'm going to be better tomorrow, keeps you the same.
Yeah.
So wake up and get real. Very few people are candid enough and honest enough to sit down with someone that struggles with obesity and say, look, the reason you're overweight is one thing, your choices. It's not what happened to you. It's not your heredity. It's not your biography. It's your choices. And if you're willing to change your choices, you, no matter how long you've been the way you have been, can change today.
Okay, we'll do it on Monday. We'll start Monday.
Christine Buck, everyone, the mantra, my devil's advocate.
Is it a good idea to make a resolution?
I think that if you have a compelling vision, it is. I think one thing people need to have in place is a really exciting future.
You have to have a plan. You can't just say, I'm going to make a resolution to lose weight, and then, you know, the day comes, it goes, there's a week, it's a month, there's 2 months, and now you're like, well, I'm already into the year. You know, I remember and I know of what I speak.
Well, here's the thing that gets people to go there, is they don't have compelling reasons. Let me ask you a question. If you knew that the choice you're making would literally determine if or when you will pass away. In other words, you could have a lot more life, you could have a better relationship. Let's say this, for someone that's more financially driven, what if you knew that by achieving your fitness goal and you felt good and looked good, you'd be making another $20,000 a year?
Okay,
you know, you have to have compelling reasons.
I think this is important because you're talking about, you know, do you come to this realization that it's about my health? Or do you have another reason that motivates you?
The reasons are critical.
Okay, hold your thought, because we also want you at home to share your thoughts on Facebook and to tell us how you feel about this and what are your thoughts about weight loss and maybe Charles D'Angelo, and we'll read some of those later in the day. When we come back, we have a real treat for you because we're going to meet a woman who did meet her goal and beyond. In fact, I guess it was December of 2012 she decided to make a change, and boy did she make a change. We'll see that when we come back. Yeah. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're talking about New Year's resolutions and specifically about losing weight. And we're really getting down with it here because we're talking to Charles D'Angelo, who is a weight loss coach and has coached so many people to lose a whole lot of weight, including Debbie Ross, who joins us today. In fact, made a resolution in December of 2012, and you have gone further than you ever thought you would. Tell us about your story, Debbie.
I seen Charles on the news one day on Thanksgiving, and he was talking to a lady that was 65 years old, and she had lost 65 pounds. And I'm like, I can do that. All the food on the table was stuff that I used to eat, and I just didn't eat it right. So I had trouble that month making my bed. I was winded.
You mean you were out of breath because you were
280 pounds. She weighed 280 pounds.
Let's take a look at what you looked like before, okay? So you weighed
280 pounds.
80 pounds. Did you know you weighed 280 pounds?
Yes, I watched myself go up the scale. I weighed every day.
Wow. See, here's that picture. See, Charles, of the before and after, and that's on the front of Ladue News if you want to read more about it, too. What a dramatic difference. Isn't it incredible how you look? And what I can't believe is that it's just really a year that you did that.
That's a little less.
Which I think is so ironic, because when we talk about New Year's resolutions, we always say, you know, don't make unrealistic goals. Well, if someone said to you last year, you're going to lose, you know, over 100 and
Someone did.
Charles.
In a year. Did you say in a year?
I said by the end of the year.
That sounds so unrealistic.
Yes. Well, the thing is so many people, again, have a low standard, and we need to really reawaken inside of ourselves the greatness that God's put in each of us, because all of us have a purpose. And I told Debbie when she came to see me that only she would be able to fulfill those purposes that God put in her. But when we're distracted by our weight, when we're distracted by our health, when we're battling things because of our history, when we have this dialogue all the time telling us we're going to stay with it, but then we fall back into bad habits and then start again on Monday or whatever, it really distracts us from what really God has planned for us and what we're capable of. So I told her, I said, look, what would it take for you to feel ecstatic, just through the roof excited? And she said, if I weighed back to what actually in her lowest in her adult life. She's a little bit lower than that right now. She has a leisure suit from 1978 that she wore. Yeah.
Don't wear it.
She wore it already.
I wore it to work.
Yes. But I want to talk to you about really the serious part, the psychological part, the deep part, the painful part of how much you weighed and how helpless you felt.
Well, I really started gaining weight after my first husband was killed in a car wreck. And from then I just 5 pounds a year, 5 pounds a year.
You didn't care.
And I didn't care. My husband loved me. My second husband loved me no matter what. you know, and then I kind of spiraled out of control the last 3 years. And then I started going to events. I couldn't fit in the seat. People would nudge me on the airplane because I was too in their seat. And then when I couldn't hardly make my bed, you know, I would have to go sit down in the living room. And I'm like, this is it. I'm done, because my father had 9 heart attacks. My sister had several heart attacks. And I have no health issues. But my thing was, after I couldn't make my bed, was, no, I'm not going to have a health issue. I'm going to have a massive heart attack and die.
So it was your health that really drove you to say, I want
The
to make
most part,
the most.
yes.
But then, when did the ego pop in, where you started to realize how good you were looking and how different? I mean, because, you know, that is part of the equation. That's what keeps you inspired, and you don't kind of expect it. Especially if you start out by saying, I want to get healthier, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I'm looking better and better.
Yes.
When my pants didn't fit me, and I would have to wear belts.
Yeah.
I have a
She had a
belt.
waist.
I had a waist. I have a belt that wraps twice around me now. And I weighed 280 pounds the day I started. And I promised Charles when I went there, the first thing he told me is, don't ever lie to me. And I wouldn't lie to him. And I never lied to him. I never even cheated. One day.
You never cheated.
I have not even cheated to this day since December 20th.
So tell the people out there that are in pain, we only have a less than a minute before we go to our break, but the people that are listening right now that are feeling that there's no way they could do this.
I didn't think I could do it, but after going to Charles, the meal plan is there for you. I'm never hungry. I have an alarm on my phone that tells me it's time to eat, even if you're not hungry. And I had to eat everything that I was supposed to eat. So because I was scared that if I didn't eat it all, I wouldn't lose no weight. So I ate everything he told me to eat. And the worst part was the exercise. I exercised for 10 minutes, I cried for an hour. Exercised for 10 minutes, because my hips hurt so bad.
She was just so out of shape. At 280 pounds, she's only 5'2", 5'3", so her body was really just deconditioned.
All right, well, we're going to continue talking about this when we come back. But coming up on Afternoons at 11, we'll take your questions as well as your comments on the resolution, so we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Stay with us. Very good. Okay, exercise. Welcome back to Afternoons on 11. Today we are talking about weight loss, New Year's resolutions specifically, but really about weight loss. And Charlotte, hi, how are you?
Hi.
And where are you from?
Here in St. Louis.
Okay, what is your question?
Charles, for women who are in their 50s, those menopausal, premenopausal years, it starts to come on around the tummy. What key things do we need to do to try and prevent that? Because it seems to happen to a lot of women.
I get that question all the time. And Deb is actually 57 years old. So she was struggling in that period of her life as well. And where you store fat has a couple of biological and genetic components, but there's no real effective way to spot reduce. So you can't really just spot reduce and target one specific area. The two things you need to do from a mechanical sense are, number one, you need to be eating about 6 times a day. So you need to be eating starting with breakfast, and make certain that, as Christine alluded to earlier, make the choices ahead of time so you're not faced by temptation. Once you have a sound philosophy with food and a practical approach with how you eat, you can stay very consistent with those things without the problem of being at the office and having someone offer you a donut, and because you're hungry, you give in. Secondly, cardiovascular exercise is key. That said, walking on the treadmill, and if you don't have a treadmill, walking outside or going to the park or starting just from your porch down to the end of the street and back and doing it consistently, because that consistency is what builds up that muscle of discipline so you're able to achieve that goal. But there's no such thing as spot reducing aside from plastic surgery.
Okay, so now you're going to eat 6 meals and walk around the block, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. What is your name?
Colleen.
And what is your question?
My question is for Deborah. Moving forward now, Deborah, how is this going to change your life and your attitude?
Changing my life. First off, there is so much food that I will never want to eat again. Just being on this change for a year, I really don't, I crave nothing. I don't want any other food. If Charles told me today, go out and eat whatever you want today, I wouldn't do it, because I'm satisfied with what I eat every day. I think my attitude is, my attitude has changed. Being heavy, I mean, you're a backsider, you know, people look at you differently. I've heard people make remarks about me being heavy, you know. When you're in the smaller world, the people treat you different. And that's really true.
I think that you're a happy person now, wouldn't you say? Yeah. Okay, sir?
Yes, my question is for Charles.
And your name is?
Justin. I realize your focus is on weight training and proper eating. I didn't want to get you off that subject, but I have an 11-year-old son. He's very active. He plays sports. I was just wondering, what's a healthy age for him to start doing weight training as far as using weights to help him?
That's a good question.
Very, very good question. And that's a common question because you don't want to impair his growth by overstretching his body. Cardiovascular exercise is appropriate at any age. From a functional training perspective, you want to make sure that you have an expert. You can go to your local gym or go to your local training center and ask for a trainer to do a full assessment. Number one, to make sure that he doesn't have any posture problems that's only going to be accentuated because of bad training or poor choices in how he lifts weights. The last thing you want him to do is go in the gym and start throwing weights around at that age. So have someone that's really an expert with resistance training start to lay the foundation so that he takes an interest in it, and don't forget to do not at all neglect the right choices with foods, because without that he won't see the physical changes or the strength changes that you're hoping for him to see.
Hey, good luck to him. All right, so we also have some people that have weighed in on Facebook, including Jaka, who says that a lack of motivation is what was really hard for this person. So I hired a personal trainer to help me with weight loss. And I think that that is something that's good, because accountability is really what the key is. Find a coach, find a trainer. If you can afford to do it, that's a good thing, and find a way to do it. Michelle, is it true you have to stay on one machine at the gym for a certain amount of time in order to really burn calories? Also, if you only use one cardio machine at the gym, is that counterproductive?
Okay, that comes back to the idea of, is your biology really responsible for how your body's burning through fuel? And to a degree it is. Whether or not you have to use the same machine all the time isn't so much the issue, but whether or not you're doing an effective pace and an effective incline if you're doing the treadmill, or a resistance if you're doing a bike or an elliptical. So once you set something up, make sure that you're getting your heart rate up to your target heart rate zone. And you can do that by monitoring on the machine. You can buy a heart rate monitor, and making sure you're staying in the aerobic center of your activity so that you're really maximizing the fat loss. But again, so many people go to the gym and spend hours on equipment, but because they're not making the choices outside the gym, they don't see the physical changes that they're hoping for.
All right, well, thank you for your questions, and thank you for your Facebook questions, and we're always on Facebook, so you can leave your questions, and we will be back with some final thoughts. Welcome back. She was scared of him. I think everybody gets scared of this coach once in a while, this weight loss coach, because it's about accountability.
I'm a nice guy, Christine.
Yeah. No, you're not. And it's what it comes down to, is accountability. And Debbie, some final thoughts for people out there, because I really think that, you know, and we're laughing and we're having a little fun, but there are so many people that are in so much pain.
I was in a lot of pain. I weighed 280 pounds. The first thing I had to do was concentrate on myself, not anybody else. The year was about Debbie, 2013. Be true to yourself, and you can do it. I did it. I was 280 pounds. I've been overweight for 38 years.
135 pounds down.
Wow. Okay, and finally, we have
I would say this.
A handful of seconds here.
Don't let your history, don't let your heredity, don't let what other people have told you limit you. The most important thing to act out of is that inner greatness that's in you. If you can see it in your mind and come up with a compelling vision with this new year, make it exciting and come up with a lot of compelling reasons that are going to keep you driven and keep you hungry for that success, because it's not a lack of resources that's going to determine whether or not you get your goal, but a lack of resourcefulness. So make the reasons, review that list all the time, and have an exciting vision for how you want this year to play out, so that at the end of the year, you're there.
And you are a nice guy. And I would offer that, you know what, it goes really fast. Once you get into it, it goes really fast, and before you know it, a year is up, right?
It is.
That's right.
Well, our time is up now. That was a whole half hour. Thanks for watching us on Afternoons at 11. I'm Christine Buck, and we'll see you again on Monday.